Here's an example of a confidence interval. The number of cell phones per 100 residents in countries in Europe is given in the first table. So this table. Number of cell phones per 100 residents in countries in the Americas is given in the second table. Find the 99% confidence interval for the difference in mean number of cell phones per 100 residents in Europe and the Americas. Round to the nearest whole number. So, what are we going to do on this one? Well, let's go to the exam 2 notes. So if we go exam 4 notes. So if we go to the exam 4 notes, here we go. Let me put them in right here for us. So looking at them, what are we talking? We're talking about two groups of data, right? Two groups of data. So right here, and we're talking about proportions or means on this question. We're talking about the find the 99% confidence for the mean. So these are means. So not proportions, means. So what do? Two groups are not matched pairs, they are independent. Yeah, we have two separate groups, they're not matched up. We'll talk about that more later in another example. Use the two-sample t-test or two-sample t-interval. Are we doing a hypothesis test or confidence interval? A confidence interval. So the two-sample t-interval. So two-sample t-interval is what we do. So let's go there. And so we're going to do stat over to test down to two-sample t-interval. Let's see which one that is. Careful not to do two-sample t-test. It's down at 0, which is number 10. Two-sample t-interval, because this is a confidence interval, not a hypothesis test. And hit enter. Okay, and as soon as you do, it'll ask you data or stats. So do we have data or do we have stats on this one? Then we go, oh yeah, we have data. So actually we need to quit this. Yeah, so I forgot. So we'll come back to this and we'll do this again. We got to first put in our data, don't we? So let's go back. We should have hit stat. So just quit where you're at and hit stat. And then you're already on edit and hit enter. And then go to the top of L1, press clear, and enter. So you got to clear out L1 and then put data down L1. So that'd be all these numbers, etc. Put all these down L1. So I'm doing that right now. So I'm down L1, so put those numbers in there. There we go. And then now, do the same thing for L2. Well, you don't need to push stat again. You just go to the top of L2 and press clear and enter to clear out L2. And then same thing. Put the data, this data, down L2. All right, and so once you've got all that, then you hit stat again, back to where we were at before. Hit stat, go over to tests, go down to the 0, which is the two-sample t interval, and hit enter. All right, now we highlight data, because we have data on this one, don't we? A list of data, and hit enter on the data. All right, and then it'll ask it'll ask us a bunch of, I think, pretty obvious questions. It'll say list 1, list 2, frequency 1, frequency, and just leave the answers that are already in your calculator. L1, L2, 1, and 1. Just leave them just like that. And then it'll ask for the C level, the confidence level. What's this one? This is a 99%. 0.99. So really all you need to do is go down to that. You don't need to mess with anything else. Just leave the list 1 is L1, the list 2 is L2, the frequency 1 and frequency 2 both is 1. Hit 99% for the confidence level. When it says pooled data, we're not doing those kind, so we just always say no and hit enter to calculate everything, and you'll get the number. So we say with 99%, let me bring this over, with 99% confidence, I'm gaining an interval between negative let's see, negative 29.43, but I'll go negative 20 because see it says round to the nearest whole number. So I got negative 29.43, so round it, negative 29 to 5.03, so I just rounded it. I rounded both those numbers. Between negative 20 and my interval said negative 29.43 comma 5.0382. So I rounded both those numbers, that one and that one. All right. So what does that mean then? What does that mean down here about this conclusion? Well, this is the part that's often tricky for people, I know. Let me help explain. Remember, we're subtracting two things. We're taking the number of the number of cell phones for European countries on average minus the number of cell phones for the Americas. Right? North America, South America. So, and so we're taking a difference, a subtraction between two things. If you subtract two things, if you get a positive answer, it means the first number is bigger, right? If you subtract two things, you get like 10 minus 3, you'll get positive 7 because the first number is bigger. So it means the first number is bigger. In this case, that would be the European. All right. And then second option, if you subtract two things, we're taking the number of European minus the number of cell phones on average per 100 in Americas. And if you get a negative answer, I'll just write negative. If you get a negative answer, positive answer, negative answer, what does that mean? That means the first number must be smaller, right? So here, let me go back and fill this in. So this is European bigger. This last one was. And this one means the first one, the European one, is smaller, right? Why? Because if you go like 7 minus 10, that's negative 3 because the first number is smaller. If you subtract two numbers and the first number is smaller, you get a negative answer. So if we're getting a negative answer, that means the first number is smaller. So the European, which is the first number, is smaller. Whereas in the last one, we got a positive answer, which means the first number is bigger. European's bigger. Get that? Get that idea? Whenever these confidence intervals that involve... oops, I shouldn't have erased that. European, smaller. These confidence intervals where we're subtracting two groups, you need to know what the answer means. If it's a positive answer, the first number was bigger. If it's a bigger. If it's a negative answer, the first number was smaller. Okay, so now, okay, what kind of answer did we get? Well, we are 99% confident that the answer is between, what would we get? Negative 29 and positive 5. Negative 29 and positive 5. What does that mean? Well, if I told you I'm thinking of a number between negative 29 and positive 5, here's 0, right? Negative 29 and positive 5 could be here, could be there, could be here, could be there. So in other words, it could be negative or it could be positive, right? So it could be negative or positive. So that means it's inconclusive. You see, when you get an interval that goes from negative territory to positive territory, the answer could be negative or positive. So we don't know which one's bigger. We don't know if the average number of cell phones used by Europeans is bigger or America's is bigger. We don't know. Inconclusive. Now, if both these answers had been negative, like if this had been negative 5, then I would say, oh, the numbers between negative 29 and negative 5, well, that means it's negative, right? Because negative 5 would be like over here. It'd be something between negative 29 and negative 5. If it's for sure negative, then we would go here and say, oh, a negative answer then means the first number is smaller, the European is smaller. And I would have went up here and said, oh, the European is lower. That's what I would have said if both of my numbers were negative. They were not, so I can't say that. Is this making sense? Right? If you get both numbers negative, then you know your answer is somewhere in negative territory. Right? So it's all about your confidence interval. If your confidence interval, ours came out negative on one side, positive on the other. So that means it could end up in negative territory or positive territory. We don't know. It's inconclusive. But if you got two negative numbers, we didn't. We got a negative and a positive. If you got two negative numbers, then you know your answer's between those two negative, right? You're 99% confident that your real answer is between the two bounds of the confidence interval. So if both your bounds are negative, you know you're somewhere in the negative territory. Or if both of them are positive, you're somewhere in the positive territory. And a positive answer would mean the first one's bigger, the European's bigger. That's how we read it. So there we go.